two true MMA legends, Tito Ortiz and Anderson Silva, just less than 4 weeks out from their match at Staples Center, September 11th. It's my honor now and my privilege to turn this over to the voice of Triller Fight Club, Ray Flores. Go ahead, Ray.
Thank you very much, Bernie. Yes, as you pointed out, we are very excited. In under a month, Triller Fight Club presents Legends 2 at Staples Center in Los Angeles. The main event, you have the return of the Golden Boy, Oscar De La Hoya, going head-to-head against the former UFC light heavyweight champion, the Phenom Vitor Belfort. The co-main event, it blew me away when I heard about this fight, but damn am I excited for these guys to get inside the ring on September 11th. You have the former UFC light heavyweight champion of the world. He was the champion for 3 years. The Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz, going head-to-head against the longest reigning UFC champion in history. Let me rephrase that. He is the longest reigning, or was the longest reigning UFC champion in history. And Anderson the Spider Silva, he had on the middleweight championship of the world for 2,457 days, coming off of his pro boxing debut less than 2 months ago when he defeated the son of a legend, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Now, tickets are available. They start at $75. They're on sale now. You can get them at Staples Center box office or at AXS.com. Also, in addition to the main event and the co-main event, if you haven't heard, we've added 2 fights to the pay-per-view portion that starts at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific time live on Fight TV pay-per-view. It'll feature the former heavyweight and cruiserweight world champion, the Haymaker, David Haye, going head-to-head against Joe Fournier in a scheduled 8-round heavyweight matchup. To begin the pay-per-view portion, a 10-round matchup at 130 pounds. It features Andy Vences going head-to-head against Ireland's own Joan O'Carroll. Now, quickly, this is the first ever event that I know of that is a 2-continent, 2-main event Triller Fight Club pay-per-view event. The first portion is geared towards the UK audience. We start at 3 Pacific time, 11 o'clock out there, British Standard Time. It'll feature a music concert in addition to undercard bouts followed by the Haye versus Fournier 8-round heavyweight matchup. And then fans can go ahead and tune in to the actual pay-per-view at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific time here in the United States. But without further ado, let's meet from the 2 combatants involved in the co-main event on September 11th. As I talked about, this man, he's been a professional fighter for over 20 years. He held on to the UFC light heavyweight championship for 3 years. And you know what? This guy's fought anybody and everybody. He comes in shape. He comes ready to go. And the guy just wants to tear your head off. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz. Tito.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate this opportunity, Thriller. Anderson Silva, for finally agreeing to the weight that he was mandatory for me to make 195. So I'll literally have to try to cut my leg off to make that weight. And I'll do it. I've never missed a weight my whole career, but it just shows that I'm really that focused. But again, it shows that Anderson, he respects the power. So I'm excited. I respect the man as a fighter, but I kind of lost a lot of respect for him just for not fighting me at 200 pounds. I've never made 195 in my whole career of 24 years, and I'm going to try like hell to make it. And I will make it, but at the same time, I just kind of lost a little respect for the guy. Someone who's been a great world champion. He's fought at 205 over 6 times. He's fought for the world title at 205. But once again, it shows that he respects my power and he's trying to make me weak. So, but hey, as I do every one of my fights, I'm going to make it exciting. I'm going to fight and I'm going to make this vicious.
Thank you very much, Tito. And now let's talk to the man who you will be standing across the ring from on September 11th, live on Triller Fight Club pay-per-view. That'll be live from Staples Center in Los Angeles, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific time. Tickets start as low as $75. Get them at AXS.com. This man, as I pointed out, the longest reigning UFC champion in history. He held on to the middleweight championship of the world from 2006 to 2013. He, much like you, Tito, fought anybody and everybody. And incidentally, both of you actually fought Vitor Belfort, who will be involved in the main event. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from Sao Paulo, Brazil, ladies and gentlemen, the Spider, Anderson Silva. Anderson.
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to make this big show for my fans in here. The first time I fight in LA, and I'm very excited. I need to say thank you, Tito Ortiz, for giving me this opportunity, and Thriller too. And let's go doing the best, the best show for the fans and for LA too. I'm very excited. Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Anderson, I want to ask you, Tito said that he's not, he's expressed the fact that he's not necessarily fond of the fact that you're making this fight at 195. There seems to be a little bit of bad blood that has manifested since the contract negotiations happened. Obviously, the fight was agreed to, but what's your response to Tito not being necessarily happy with how the negotiations went and him saying, there is a little bit of animosity between you two?
Well, this is a good question for Coach Nico.
Well, you know what? He has the right to be a little, be a little upset about the weight. But technically, our last fight was at 182. So I don't understand why would we fight at 200 when Anderson, his last fight was 182. I'm here to take care of my fighter, and I'm here to train my fighter the best of our ability, as well as Coach Doria. So we're always gonna look out for our fighter. You understand? So I respect how he feels, and he's entitled to feel how he feels. But at the end of the day, this is our fighter, Doria, and ourselves, and we're going to look out from the best of our ability.
Tito, for you, when the odds were released, you are a heavy underdog coming into this fight against Anderson Silva. Do you use that as bulletin board material? Does that motivate you, or just the fact that you want to go out there and, compete and show the world that you are a formidable force against somebody like Anderson Silva in the boxing ring?
I really don't look at odds. I don't care about odds. Odds actually kind of push me to want to express my feelings inside the ring. And my feelings is to hurt the man in front of me. I got to go back to the weight thing, because if I don't make the weight, they're going to take percentage of my purse away. So they're taking food off the table of my children. And that makes me very angry, but a focus in anger. I'm excited because Anderson is one of the best in the world. I've always wanted to fight Anderson. I've always had respect for him, like I say, but I understand how his team is going to take control of what weight he should be fighting at. Like I said, he's fought at 205 before, and I thought, I thought he'd be a gentleman and make it at least 200, knowing that I used to be the middleweight world champion myself, and I used to make 199. And that was the weight class. When UFC moved the weight up to 205 was because of me. They asked me what would be the perfect weight for 205 pounds, or for light heavyweight. And I said 205 pounds. So that's so they made it. But once again, I understand what their theory is behind it and what they want to do. Like I say, I really don't look at odds. I just look at the factor of how am I going to be when I step into the ring and compete against Anderson Silva, one of the greatest middleweights to ever grace the octagon.
Anderson, how much has your confidence grown since defeating Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.? Because you went ahead from the MMA realm into the professional boxing ring against a guy who fought for the world championship in Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And incidentally, you beat him in his home country down in Mexico. So tell us about the fact that you really, you're getting into the boxing ring for the second time within a few months period. But how much did that fight really boost your confidence, if any?
Well, when I accept the fight, I just talked to my coach about showing my respect for boxing, and I working hard for 4 months with my coach, and just for showing my respect for boxing, for the Mexico country, and for the Chavez family. Chavez is an amazing fighter, and I respect a lot. And I respect the other fighters too. And when I go to do my job, I try to show my respect for my fans, for the people work with me, for my coach, and for the war too.
Now, Anderson, the fact that, there was talks years ago about a potential matchup you and Roy Jones, et cetera, you were under contract with the UFC. Once you got free of that contract, you made your pro boxing debut. Now you're fighting with Triller. And Ryan Kavanaugh has been very open and honest, saying, look, I am an alternative. Triller Fight Club is an alternative. And I'm going to give fighters who want an opportunity that platform to display their talent and also make a healthy financial compensation for your effort. So is it gratifying knowing now that you can dive into the world of boxing, which has been talked about for you for a long time, even prior to your pro boxing debut against Julio Cesar Chavez back in June?
Well, I love boxing. It's a very interesting and a very special sport. I love my sport too, MMA, but boxing is have something special in boxing. I'm a big fan for a lot of professional fighters and legends in boxing. And I just training box for years with Coach Doria. And in Brazil, when I start training, I just training a lot, and I try to do my best in my sport. I try to do my best right now in boxing, and it's something I love and something I try to put it outside me and for people to see how much I can continue doing my job, inspiring people, in the new generation too.
Tito, for you getting this opportunity to dive into this world with Triller Fight Club, Ryan Kavanaugh has been, he tried to get, GSP to potentially fight Oscar De La Hoya. And from what we heard that, the UFC blocked that, didn't want to see that fight, take place. Therefore, insert Vitor Belfort. Tell us about Triller Fight Club coming on and providing an opportunity to other fighters who want to dive into the pro boxing realm. And, you are a product of that now in the co-main event on September 11th against Anderson Silva.
It just makes me really excited that Kavanaugh's given this opportunity for fighters like myself and Anderson, Vitor Belfort, and De La Hoya to compete against each other to see who's the best fighter inside the ring. But once again, for the fans to watch this, it's amazing. When I got to see Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr., that was a fight that I've wanted to see, my whole career. And I had my career just as being a fan of boxing in general. Back in the days of Hagler and Hearns and Roberto Duran. And these are the guys that I grew up watching, Mike Tyson, Oscar De La Hoya, Fernando Vargas. These guys that I've watched boxing through mixed martial arts. I try to adapt the same skills in boxing, but I came from a wrestling background. But still at the same time, as the years gone on, from 2011 till now, boxing was a big part of my game because I come to learn that people started defending the takedowns. So you got to learn how to punch. So over the last 5 to 6 years, now all of a sudden I started learning how to move my head a lot more and set on my punches where they're power punches. My last fight against Chuck Liddell, knocking him out. Yeah, at the same time, he was a little bit slower, but still, I'm starting to understand the fundamentals of boxing because it is a special sport. There's nothing that can compare to it. And not even MMA can compare to it just because the punches aren't as hard as you do in boxing because you're not worried about a head kick. You're not worried about a knee. You're not worried about an elbow. You're not worried about a takedown. You're able to move your head and move out of positions in and out. And Anderson's a guy who's done that his whole career. But I don't think he's really fought anybody that has been able to push the force and has power the way I have through the last, 6-7 years of my career. But once again, I'm thankful for Anderson for accepting this fight. I'm thankful for Triller for getting this opportunity for us to compete against each other. I'm just excited to get back in the ring. I'm excited to get my body and my mind in a mental place where I can compete and be happy. People got to understand, fighters are the most loneliest athletes in the world because it's only me versus another person. There's no team. There's no coach. Yeah, there's a coach in between rounds, but still, you got to do the work before to make sure that you perform at a great capacity. And being in a negative light or in a negative world as a fighter is horrible. Over the last 8 years, my life has changed completely. I got myself away from UFC. I reinvigorated my life, reinvigorated my career. My mental state is like it's never been before. So I'm excited to compete against Anderson, to show everybody that there is a new Tito Ortiz. There's a positive and vicious Tito Ortiz that'll be in front of Anderson Silva. And I hope he doesn't look at my old fights when I fought Nogueira or when I fought Machida because I was slower. I didn't understand head movement. I mean, there's a lot of things that I've learned that I've been able to adapt to for this fight that I hadn't had before. So I think this will be a really exciting fight, and a lot of fans will be going, wow, Tito actually does know how to box.
All right. Well, now we're going to turn it over to the media with questions. You can go ahead, and Bernie Barmazal will call upon you. Raise your hand, and then also when we go to you, make sure to unmute yourself. So Bernie Barmazal, I will turn it over to you, my friend.
Thank you very much, Ray. Our first question comes from Gabriel Gonzalez. Go ahead, Gabriel.
Yeah, my first question is for Tito. Tito, I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on the main event between Oscar and Vitor?
I think this is going to be exciting. I mean, at the same time, Oscar is normally 154, 156 at the heaviest, or excuse me, 165 at the heaviest. And Vitor Belfort has been fighting anywhere from 185 up to 205, and he's cut down to 180. So if Vitor can keep his power and have the speed that he has, I really think De La Hoya is going to have a little bit of problems. But if De La Hoya has, as he always has, is great cardio and speed, then Vitor has some problems. So I just expect a very exciting fight. I really do. I mean, I respect both guys largely. It's just one of those things that this is boxing. You never know what's going to happen. Everybody has a puncher's chance.
Two more quick ones. One more for Tito. Tito, with the history of the whole Golden Boy MMA and Oscar, you guys are going to be around each other fight week. Is it all water under the bridge right now with you two?
Yeah, it's water under the bridge. I think you learn from a lot of mistakes, and you kind of see how things turn out and how they were supposed to turn out, but how they didn't. But as I say, it's water under the bridge, and I don't worry about what happened behind me, man. Behind my life is behind my life. Now I'm just looking forward for more better things to experience with Thriller. They've treated me nothing but respect so far, so I'm just excited to see what happens in the future.
My final question for Anderson Silva. Anderson, there was some talk about you actually facing Logan Paul. I was just wondering how far those talks ever got.
Wow. I think everything is possible right now, everything is brand new one, the shows for the fans is completely different right now. The people watching the YouTubers fight for MMA guys or boxing guys, and I think me and Vitor, Tito, and the others MMA fighters ready for continue doing the best and give the great show for the fans, and I'm waiting for the next challenge, maybe this happened with Logan Paul. Let's go see.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabe. Our next question comes from Damon Martin from MMA Fighting. Go ahead, Damon.
Hey, guys. First question for Anderson. Anderson, after you had your win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., there was a lot of talk about maybe you fighting another boxer. Obviously, Tito's a legend in his own right, but do you have interest in fighting, additional pro boxers? Was that something you wanted to pursue? And how did Tito come into the conversation?
Well, everything is possible. I love fighting. Fighting is part of my life, and is my ear. And I try to challenge myself every single moment. I never stop training. I train every day. And Thriller asked it to my manager about this opportunity to fight with Tito, and I'm so happy, because Tito is the great legend and for many, many years. And I remember when I Tito fight in UFC, I'm start fighting in UFC, and I'm impressed because I saw Tito and I say, oh my God, this guy is a monster, is amazing. And I'm a big fan. By the way, I'm a big fan. I respect a lot. And I'm very excited, because this matter happened. It's a big show for the fans.
And a couple questions for Tito. Tito, obviously you've moved on beyond the UFC a long time ago, fighting in Bellator, fighting for Golden Boy and all those kind of things. But can you kind of speak to the option of having something like Triller available for fighters now? I mean, obviously they're producing boxing, not MMA, but we've seen a lot of MMA guys come over and talk about the money they're making, highest paydays ever, things like that. Like, as a guy who's been around forever, like, can you kind of speak to the idea of having these options available to fighters?
Well, I think it comes down to a lot of the fighters who have been able to make brands of themselves, to make big names of themselves, and being able to be shown on a stage or, you know, a platform like this for worldwide, and be able to be a part of the company, be a partner of the company. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what the boxing really came about, of making the fighters a part of the company. And that's important because we're the ones getting inside the ring and competing and showing the fans of how true fighters we really are. I think at the end of the day, once again, is we want a piece of the pie. We're the ones killing ourselves in training. We're the ones killing ourselves fight after fight. Either we're knocking somebody out, or we get knocked out, we're getting cut, we're getting injured, something where we can't fight for the rest of our lives. And I've been very fortunate to take care of my body through my career, that I've been able to have a long longevity in my career. I'm very thankful for that. But I think Thriller's given this opportunity for a lot of fighters who were former world champions, who have great careers, but maybe had a couple losses and all of a sudden get kicked to the curb and forgot about. Well, Thriller's given this opportunity for fighters to step up and give the fans great fights. And I'm just very excited to give me this opportunity. And this will be one of many for me, I believe.
With that being said, that kind of segues perfectly on my next question, Tito, which what is the future for you? I mean, I think boxing kind of came out of nowhere for a lot of people just because you have been such a dominant mixed martial artist. But what is the future? Is it going to be more boxing matches? Is it going to be MMA? What is the future?
Well, the future right now is Anderson Silva. I'm not looking past that at all. I'm doing the work for that. You know, this is a really short camp for me. But once again, I'm going to put in the work. And I want to get my hand raised. I'm going to get my hand raised. I'm going to put in the work to make sure that does happen. And after September 11th, I guess we'll talk with Thriller again. And is it a boxing match or is it an MMA match? I don't know. I see Logan. Logan is my size. You know, I spoke with him a while back about getting an MMA. He goes, you know, that would be pretty good, but I really just, I would like to box. And now all of a sudden I went from being MMA to chasing over to the boxing. So I guess you kind of got to chase the money, just as long as you take it to the heart that it's really not about the money. It's about competition, of competing against some of the best people and some of the biggest names. And, you know, the Paul brothers have done that with their YouTube followers, but also putting in the work. And I respect both the guys. And I know a lot of professional boxers don't like it because they've really captivated the fans and, you know, took a lot of the limelight from the professional boxers and the guys that I respect hugely. But people got to understand, this is about marketing. But you got to go in, you got to perform, you got to fight great. And a lot of fighters are doing that. The Paul brothers are doing that. Anderson Silva, myself, get an opportunity to do that. Anderson's last fight against Julio Cesar Chavez showed that he is a true boxer. And I've always known that. I've always known Anderson being a true boxer. And once again, I'm excited to get this opportunity to see what happens in the future.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much, Damon. Our next question comes from Cole Whiston. Go ahead, Cole.
I got a couple questions. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm from Boxing World Weekly, by the way. Silva, I'll start with you. This is obviously something that's maybe becoming something serious for you. I want to know, we've seen Jake Paul come up with his hit list. So who's on your hit list? What's your goals in the sport after this?
Continue training and prepare my mind and my body for the next challenge. You know, I'm just stay with my coach and Coach Dori and Coach Nico, my partners, you know, Eliezer, Little Nico, the guys helped me a lot, my son Gabriel, and I continue working hard, you know, with my team. And let's go see where's the future. You know, I'm just keep my focus for training because it's something I love it. And I never stop, and I go continue training waiting for the next challenge. It's good for me. It's good for my team. Let's do it.
And what would you say is the biggest difference in like an MMA training camp compared to a boxing training camp? Maybe not just like style wise, but from a conditioning wise.
Wow. You know, for me, it's not too much different because I continue training the same level, you know, the conditional training and, the only difference I have right now is because I need to work more for my footwork, my hands up and movement. You know, boxing is a very different for that. But a conditional training is the same. and the technique is changed a little bit, of course.
Awesome. And final question for Tito. What would you say your advantages are to go into this match against Anderson Silva, with Anderson Silva being someone that has beaten a pro boxer before?
My advantages, wow. I would say heart, a lot of heart. I don't ever think of a guy that I can't beat. I'm not going to go in there thinking I'm going to lose. And every one of my fights, I always think like that. I know what work I need to do. I know how I'm going to have to catch up to Anderson. I know his speed. I've been watching his fights, almost his whole career in Pride and UFC, and just watching how his motivation and his confidence was building as he became more and more world champions. I think he 9 world titles in UFC, but then when he got into boxing, watching that, and I've always kept an eye on him because Anderson's someone that, once again, I've always respected. I just want to showcase my skills, the things that I have been learning over the last 6, 7, 8 years now. And I've gotten a lot better, and I'm still getting a lot better. I still got a lot more work to do. And as Anderson said, we just got to continue to learn this craft of boxing. This is why they call it the sweet science. When you turn over a punch, it's a lot different from turning over a punch in MMA, just because of there's a lot more power in boxing than there is in MMA, because you got to watch out for the takedowns, you got to watch out for the kicks, you got to watch out for the knees. Head movement is another situation that I've been able to learn a lot of. And I think I was able to showcase that against Chuck, where he never touched me with one punch. And he threw a barrage of punches that never touched me. So it's just one of those things, once again, that I just got to continue the work I've been doing with Jason Perillo, Jay Silva, Luke Rockhold, the guys that I'll be working with for this camp. I got an opportunity to spar my first time on Friday. We did 8 rounds, and it was actually pretty easy. I thought it was going to be a little more difficult than it was. And I got touched on it a couple times, but still, it's a lot better. And people don't understand that mixed martial arts is so much more different because of getting kicked and getting punched and getting kneed. Now I don't have to worry about the punching knees and elbows. I don't have to worry about punches. So it makes it a lot more acceptable for me to move my head and to get out of the way and to bend over at the waist and be able to use my waist for punching power and try to knock guys out. And that's what I plan on doing.
Awesome. Well, I hope I get to see you guys again in the boxing ring, win, lose, or draw once again. And good luck, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Once again, for the media, if you have a question for Tito Ortiz or Anderson Silva, please use the raise hand function and I will call on you. Our next question comes from Done Corby. Go ahead, Done. Hello?
Hey, how's it going? My first question is for Anderson. Anderson, there was initially, I think you've touched on it a little bit, but there was talk, Dylan Dennis leaked that there was a date of September 19th for potentially you fighting Logan. Of course, that ended up not happening. You're fighting the week prior against Tito. Now, was that actually very close to happening in Dubai? And would you say that your next fight might probably be against Logan?
Well, let's go see. Everything's possible. Waiting for the next challenge. I can't control that situation. I just have a control for one thing, just training hard and continue listen my coach and learn more and more technique and doing the good training with my partners, And the other side, I can't control that, And this has happened. I'm so happy. I'm prepared for that. But it's not. I'm good too. I'm continue training,
Tito, you mentioned the Paul brothers a little bit there. If you had to choose a brother, Logan or Jake, would you like to fight either of them, and which one would you prefer to fight?
I once again, I can't think past Anderson. This is my main focus is Anderson Silva, southpaw, the way he moves, the way he steps, the way he dances, the way he pops shots, the flashy skills he uses. That's all I've been focusing on. But if I look at either brother of Logan brothers, I would say of the Paul brothers, I'd say Logan would be the one, just because Jake's a little smaller. And I would like to get someone more my size. I think me making 195 is going to be really, really hard, And I'm going to try my ass off. If not, they're going to deduct money from my purse, and it is what it is. And I'll still fight. And I'm just excited once again, just for this opportunity, because I'm challenging myself. I'm challenging my mind. I'm challenging my body. And I get to challenge against one of the greatest mixed martial artists ever to grace the octagon, Anderson Silva.
last one from me, Tito. Do you plan? I know that you're focusing on Anderson at the moment, but do you have future political ambitions again once this fight is over in the future, or is that part of your life finished?
That part of my life ended. I got a taste of how dirty that stuff is, and I just try to help my city, man. And at the end of the day, what our country's going through right now, people say don't talk about politics, but the future of my children is my number one. That's all I try to do is help here in Huntington Beach, and I couldn't let it happen. I got attacked nonstop every single week. Either it was in the news or the newspaper. And when they started attacking my character, assassinating my character, that's when I knew I needed to walk away. I was making $1,200 a month to sit there and make decisions for the city. It wasn't worth my time, and I apologize for all the people who did vote for me. I had almost 45,000 people who voted for me, the most in Huntington Beach history. But once again, I'm an honest man and trying to do an honest job. And, politics, you can't be an honest man and do those things, because when you keep your word, other people don't like that same idea. When you're not a part of the agenda, you get canceled out. And it is what it is. It's behind me now once again. I'm just thankful for Thriller giving me this opportunity to let me showcase my skills as the athlete I truly am.
Thank you very much for your time, guys.
Thank you, Done. The next question comes from Jose Matos. Go ahead, Jose.
No audio.
Jose, if you can start over again, that'd be great.
Sorry. I apologize. Thank you again for having me here, guys. My first question is for Tito Ortiz. Tito, why did you decide to go into making your professional boxing debut instead of looking to add more wins to your MMA resume? You're riding a 3-fight winning streak.
Well, I think COVID had a big deal about this whole situation. Fights weren't happening. Combate Global wasn't having live events. So that made it a little more difficult for them to give me a fight. Fyodor Emelianenko didn't want to fight me, so that makes it more of a challenge. And I just think as hopefully we're able to transfer out of this COVID situation, hopefully I'll have some MMA fights. But until then, why not let's box? Let's have some fun. I watched Tyson and Roy Jones. It was an amazing fight. Then I watched Logan Paul and fight Floyd Mayweather, and I was like, is Mayweather really playing with him or not? But once again, it's a show. I get it. It's fun, but it's a fight. And that's one thing that I can't really dissect the difference of, is putting on a show or putting on a fight. I've been fighting my whole life. I'm not going to change. That's my mentality, is to go in, kill or be killed. That's the way I've always fought. That's the way I'm going to continue to always fight. But then I think I got to step down a little bit and understand boxing. This is like a chess match. I got to make sure I play into the game to a right situation, not hurt myself too much or I'm making mistakes. And I think boxing will settle me down on doing this. So that's why right now boxing is a focus for me. And I like it. It's fun. And I don't have to wrestle right now. I don't have to jiu-jitsu right now. I don't have to lift weights heavy right now. I don't have to do the things I did to tear my body down that I did in mixed martial arts as I did with boxing. Now I can use the sweet science of boxing, of head movement, of body movement, feet work, things that I've always respected of boxers. And I still respect of boxers because it's hard work to do. It's very methodical. It's very challenging of the mind to do these small steps, but to do it perfectly and to hit with your pop shots, to hit with your punches, turn your punches all the way over. And this is the type of thing that I love, challenges. That's why I became the world champion of UFC. I didn't know jiu-jitsu. I didn't know kickboxing. I didn't know boxing. I knew wrestling. But as I got better and better throughout the years, because I was able to adapt these things and master these things of being one of the best in the world. Now, boxing, I want to do the same thing. And a lot of boxers, they go through their whole life of boxing, get that one life opportunity of being a world champion. I'm just looking to put a show on for my fans who've been fans of me over the last 24 years and know what type of fighter I am, or know what type of person I am, and to put on a show. That's what I've always wanted to do. And like I said, either I'm going to go out with my shield or I'm going to go out on my shield. And that's the way I fight. I'm a warrior, man. And I'm excited that Anderson accepted this fight. And like I say, Anderson said himself, let's put on a show. I'm excited to do it. And thanks for Thriller for getting this opportunity.
And Tito, so we've heard Anderson's camp answer the question about, the weight and, the whole negotiation with that kind of stuff. I know you wanted the fight at 205 pounds. Why did you ultimately decide to go down to 195 and agree to this fight instead of looking for a bout with somebody else?
Well, once again, I've always wanted to fight Anderson Silva. And I thought that, maybe we could do a catch weight at 200 pounds. I had no problem at that. but it came to a situation where I got called for the fight was it July 19th, and waited all the way up to the first week of August. And it was either you take it or we're walking away with it. And let me tell you, I'm not letting money get away from my children's mouth at all. People gotta understand, fighting's my life. I love the fight. I love fighting. I love competition. I love competing. I love to see the transformation of my body through a camp. I wasn't gonna let it get away. And if making 195, or if I do make 197, and they take away 15%, I'm paying Anderson, I'm paying the athletic commission, but I'm fighting and I'm learning. I'm getting more and more experience, but still, I got to punch his chance. I shock the world. If I don't, I don't. But you know what? I'm challenging myself. I'm not going to sit there and say, you know what? I'm going to be a stubborn bastard and walk away from money and walk away from the opportunity to fight Anderson Silva. I'm not going to do that. I'll sacrifice everything. I used to have cheat days on Sundays. I have no more cheat days. Yesterday, I had a juice and had a little bit of chicken. I cut out my carbs completely. My dieting. I'm my own nutritionist. Through my whole career, I've done it. But once again, I got to make sacrifices to be the best man I possibly can be, and I'm going to make those sacrifices all the way up to September 11th.
Last question for Anderson. Anderson, coming off your win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., what adjustments are you making in your second bout? And is this bout, do you find it more difficult than your first one?
That's the great and good question for my coach. My coach can respond that.
You know what? Every fight's a different fight. Every fight's a dangerous fight. We all know it takes one punch to knock someone out. So every fight's different. Chavez has pretty much the same style as Tito Ortiz. We respect Tito Ortiz much so. But every fight's a different fight. So we're preparing ourselves, and you'll see it September 11th.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Jose. Appreciate the questions. The next question comes from Jason Burgos. Go ahead, Jason.
Hey, I have two questions for Tito.
Vai ser uma grande luta, né? A gente sabe, Anderson tá vindo de um camping, lutou contra um ex-campeão do mundo, Chavez Júnior, e teve uma grande performance. O Tito Ortiz é uma lenda do MMA, né? Mas acho que a Anderson é um atleta que se cuida muito, né? Sempre gostou muito do boxe, já desde o MMA sempre priorizou a trocação, o boxe, o Muay Thai, e Anderson é um especialista também no boxe. Então, acredito que será uma grande luta, né? Mas vejo o Anderson numa condição, no momento, superior a Tito Ortiz, que é um atleta forte, com muita experiência, mas a habilidade de Anderson na trocação faz a diferença.
Thank you, Coach. Go ahead, Jason.
So, at first, I have two questions for Tito. You talked a lot about the 195 weight issues and stuff like that. It just seems like it's a bad mix in terms of, you mentioned short notice, you're cutting a lot of weight. It's not your sport. Obviously, you're not a young man, still a talented athlete. Was it a type of thing, the money was just too good to pass up, and you, even though it might damage legacy if you have a bad performance, just the money was too good, or it's just the challenge of it?
I think the challenge of it, this is Anderson Silva. This is one of the greatest MMA fighters ever to grace the octagon. And I'm not going to take the opportunity. I would be stupid not to take the opportunity. And yeah, the money's great, but at the same time, when I step in the ring, it's not about the money anymore. I get paid for my training camp, the focus that I have for the camp in general. Once again, I want to challenge myself. I fight somebody who's never fought before, and I get a win, and all of a sudden everybody says, oh, Tito, you're supposed to beat that guy anyways. Well, I'm not supposed to beat Anderson Silva. I'm not supposed to. Plain and simple. I'm the underdog. My back's pressed against the wall, and these are the type of things I love in life, because my whole life I've been canceled. My whole life I was told I couldn't be able to do it. This is the opportunity that I thrive for. That's why I took the fight. To make 195, I'm challenging myself. And a lot more people need to challenge themselves, because life's too short not to. And these are the type of things that I love. These are the type of things I thrive under. And I'm gonna, on September 11th, when I get in the ring, after I make my weight, I'm gonna thrive. And as Anderson Silva's coach said, everybody got to punch his chance. And I got to punch his chance. And I'm excited for this opportunity once again, as I said.
All right, so you pretty much answered my second question, so I'll pivot over to Anderson. Anderson, I think I know what you're probably going to say, but other people have talked about fights that could be in the future. The fight was referenced earlier in the call, Roy Jones. That's the fight I think a lot of people want to see. Makes a lot of sense. Legendary fighters, maybe close to weight. Is that the focus next? Anderson Silva, Roy Jones, or should we just give up hope that fight's not going to happen?
Wow, I talking about this fight for many, many years ago, and first of all, I respect and I'm a big fan for Roy Jones. I try to copy Roy Jones in my entire life, because it's amazing. And I respect a lot Mr. Roy. And I don't think so this fight happening right now, but I keep in talk with Mr. Roy Jones a lot, and I talk to me when I fight with Chavez Jr. and give me good luck, and I asking about something I can do, and I watching the fight when Mr. Roy Jones putting the hands down and look the guy and say, come here, and then go in the corner, and I watching the same the whole night, it's the same I do, and when I start UFC, I just watching a lot the videos, the Roy Jones and Muhammad Ali, and Bruce Lee. And right now I continue watching Mr. Roy Jones, the videos, and this inspired me a lot. But I think the fight is not happening anymore. I respect it a lot. And I'm a big fan. I follow the Mr. Roy Jones in entire Korea when I start the amateur, and I'm so happy to try to do the same Mr. Roy Jones do inside the ring, and my coach don't like too much, and sometimes I'm feel sad because my coach beating me a lot, but I try to copy Mr. Roy Jones because he's inspiring me a lot, and of course Muhammad Ali too, but it's a different level. And my coach told me talk to me about every day. You're not Roy Jones Jr. Put your hands up and stop. And I say, okay, I go try.
All right, that's it for me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jason. Our next question comes from Dylan Bowker. Go ahead, Dylan.
Hey there. I appreciate you taking my call. My first question was for Anderson, because with the Triller platform, there's a lot of, flashy performance aspects to it that add a lot to the show. Are we going to be seeing the Pride Fighting Championship, Michael Jackson, Anderson Silva entrance for this one? Something to that effect?
Whoa, Michael Jackson is, is a very interesting because I love Michael Jackson too. And when I'm young, I remember I go to the school party with my friends, and I dance in Michael Jackson, and I try to copy Michael Jackson too, and I'm a big fan. But I mean, it's historical, Michael Jackson. And I remember when I fight in Pride with Carlos Newton, I using the stuff for Michael Jackson, start dancing, and I walk to the ring, and I'm a big fan for Michael Jackson, and I feel happy when people remember that the fight, remember when I walking with dancing Michael Jackson.
Oh, definitely iconic all around. But just as a quick follow-up to Tito here, because obviously in past have come across as a steadfastly patriotic American. I'm kind of wondering what your feelings are getting to fight 20 years subsequent to 9/11.
Well, I'm very happy to fight with Tito. 9/11 is a very special day for all of us. And I think it's a good fight. It's a good moment for every single person in the United States, especially here in LA. And this fight for me is special because it's the moment to United States lost something very important, and I'm half American right now. And that's I go try to do the big show for people think about the good things United States have.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks very much, Dylan. Our next questions come from Cynthia Conte. Go ahead, Cynthia.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This question is for both of you. In follow-up Anderson, you said that, or your coach said, stop emulating Roy Jones Jr., but what other fighters do you watch in preparation for your fights? And also, I'll answer that question first, and then I'll go to Tito. Please.
Well, I don't have nobody in my mind. I just continue training, and waiting for the new challenge. But I don't have nobody in my mind. I just continue training. It's because I love training. I just help my kids every day. I come to training with my partners. I like to stay here in academy and training and learn something new But I don't have names in my mind.
And then also, how is sparring? How are you able to get sparring, and are you getting professional fighters? I guess this can go for your coach, maybe.
Yeah, the sparring is interesting for my partner sparring, but not for me. Like to kill me, And at the last sparring, the guy say, I take 2 punches and say, and I look in when I'm done and say, what happened, man? I'm your friend. Say, I'm not your friend. I'm Tito Ortiz right now. And say, okay, I go kick your legs next time. And then my friends, they say, you can't kick the legs. Just continue working the boxing and put your hands up.
Okay. And Tito, also same question. What fighters do you watch to bring out the best tools in your arsenal and also your sparring?
I think right now, I've been really focusing on boxing is watching Canelo and Ryan Garcia. Just the speed and power that they're able to come up with is just amazing. How they turn their punches over. This is stuff that I've really focused on, like I said, over the last 6 years, and not really the beginning of my UFC career because of kicks, because of knees, because of elbows, because of takedowns. But now I'm able to kind of focus on how they turn their punches over, how they turn their hip over, shoulder, head movement, just getting in and out of the punching position, stuff that I've never really focused on before. And I've been able to focus on, like I said, the last years, that it makes it interesting. It makes it exciting. It's like a chess match. It's like a chess game. We're doing these little small, little intervals of punches and feet position and head position. It just makes it exciting. And I think I just got the hunger back of competing again. And this is just, once again, I'm very thankful for Triller giving me this opportunity and Anderson to take in the fight, because I wouldn't want to fight anybody else. I want to fight the best every one of my fights, and Anderson's that man today. So I'm excited.
Since you are learning so much about yourself, becoming a boxer, what have you found out? What have you learned about yourself? What is the strongest tool in your arsenal that we will be seeing September 11th?
I think a lot of it is putting punches together, not just throwing 1 and 2 punches. Because that was always the game plan for me, is throwing straight right and clinching and double legging. And I hope I don't do that for this fight. So I got to apologize to Anderson right now if I take you down. Or if I'm sorry. It's a fight. And I just, that's how I respond. I don't know. I think a lot of it is just having control. Having that methodical control, being able to get out of the way of a punch, gloves are only this big, and if I'm able to move out of the way only that much, that's all I need to do. People understand a leg is a much longer object to get all the way out of the way or to close the gap in double leg. But I think just be able to move my head side to side and not really worry about moving too much out of the way so I can counter punch or I can be the first one to fire. I think that's the type of things that I've been learning working with Jason Perillo and the guys I've been sparring with. And Anderson being a southpaw, I trained for Vitor Belfort for two training camps, 2 full training camps, and he was a southpaw. And I learned so much of firing against a southpaw that I'm able to adapt for this camp. And I'm thankful because I said it's just like building blocks. You got to build it up more and more and more and more to get to where you want to be for the competition in general. So I'm just excited that I have had this opportunity through Triller, and I know my fans will be excited. I am. I'm excited. I'm over the top. I love to compete. I love to fight. I love to see what I can perform in front of the millions of fans that'll be watching. And